What's up, guys? Nolan here. I'm just dying to play Broken Arrow. I so wish that we could be playing Broken Arrow right now in any capacity. But in terms of an RTS itch, Broken Arrow just is just constantly is living in my brain right now, and it honestly hurts that we can't play it right now. That's how much I love that game. It really is. It hurts that I'm not able to play it right now, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same. So I'm not sure if I'm going to put gameplay that I have left over in the background here. I'm not sure if it's exactly going to work, or I'll figure out something to put in the background here. But really what I wanted to put out there is a bit of a discussion brought up by one of my Patreons, Leo the Lion. So Leo wanted to see some Broken Arrow videos, and trust me, I hear you, Leo. We've already had a bit of a discussion back and forth about some of the specific questions that he had. A lot of it is not necessarily intro to Broken Arrow or to RTS or games that play like Wargame Red Dragon, for instance, but it is some of the newer stuff, and it just would really be helpful if I had gameplay. So what I'm going to do is the instant that we are able to get our hands on the game again, I will be doing a video like that to show some of the basics. I'm starting to see I have seen a lot of people that when I was posting about it, when we were able to play it, there was a lot of people that didn't understand a lot of the basics that I guess people that are Wargame OGs it just lives in our brain, like understanding how to face armor a certain way, why certain missiles only go after certain targets. What's the difference between radar on and radar off, stuff like that. That's not super obvious. So when we are able to play the game again, I will cover that stuff again. But something that I wanted to bring up today as a discussion is the opener and the economy, the way that the economy progresses throughout a match. Is it something that we think that we're okay with? Is it something that we think can be adapted? And what I'm trying to say here is, to be specific, is how we seem to all want to just buy planes at the beginning. I, notoriously, and if you guys have caught some of my videos on the gameplay of the way that I do it for the opener, is I don't buy anything. I buy very few things, depending on the strategy, actually. I can't say that. I can't say that I never buy anything. I try to buy minimal things like probing things, reconnaissance things here and there, and just kind of let the enemy, let us see what the enemy is doing, and then I can kind of go back and forth with them in the air a little bit. Maybe I can snipe them a little bit if I have some Su-57s or something like that, depending on the deck that I've brought. And assuming the next time that we're going to have access to the game, we're going to have access to some longer range missiles for the US or some better ASFs for the US, like Russia did, because we didn't have the Air Force deck when we were playing as the US that last test. But as Russia, you did. So you had the Su-57s, you had the Su-35s, Su-35s, Su-30s. I forget. You guys know what I'm talking about. And the those ASF fighters, I think it was the Su-35. Those ASF fighters for Russia, where we had a couple of F-35s and a bunch of slow Hornets, which if you stack the Hornets correctly with a couple of AMRAAMs and a couple of Sidewinders, because those ranges matter, like I've talked about in several of my videos, they could still do work. And especially if you had a good AA net with those Patriots in the back, you definitely could still do work. So it was still useful. But having access to that American Airborne deck will be a big difference. So is it potentially an issue where, sure, it's a gameplay decision. You can choose to dump all your points immediately, and then you slowly grind those points back up. It's actually, you know what, let me make sure that I'm clear about this. The way that the economy works is the more units, the total cost of the units that you have on the ground is the speed at which you earn income. So it's kind of a catch-up. So if you end up losing a bunch of units, you're going to get your points back quicker so that you can buy them, and then you can get back into the game quicker. And in that Q&A that I ended up doing now, what was that, 2 months ago? 3 months ago now? No, 2 months ago. It was in March. Felix did tell us that we are going to be able to get extra points now. If a teammate does end up leaving, we will get increased point value, or increased what would that be? I'm blanking on the word here. Increased number of, you get your points quicker, basically. So blame the brain damage on that one. I can't remember what the right word is, but you guys, frequency, the higher frequency of income. There you go. And so at the beginning, if you were to, let's say, buy a bunch of planes and then you end up losing them, good or bad, like if they get a bunch of kills but you still end up losing an AA or something like that, you are actually going to be, if you end up losing those planes, you are going to be hurting quite badly. If you keep those planes, you'll get a refund for the majority of the planes, except for the ammunition that you used. But then also, you also get the normal kind of frequency at which you are earning points back. So it's very different. It's quite the snowball that you can end up doing when you keep your units alive, something that I've been keeping in everybody's brains and all of my Broken Arrow videos. Keep your units alive at all costs. With the current way that the game works, you always prioritize keeping your units alive, because when they are actually on the front line and if they end up dying, that is time. That's time you're going to need to get your points back. That's time that they're going to take to have to go from the rear to the front. And, of course, you're losing ground. If they're not in that position anymore, the enemy could be in that position, and it's not good to lose ground. So that's the way the game works for right now. But when we think about it, what happens most of the games? Most of the games, the air is filled with planes. Absolutely filled with planes. But after all of my now several hundred hours in the game, or not now, I mean, it was months ago when I got to those several hundred hours. What I've been doing is barely buying anything for the air, buying a couple of ground units, keeping some things saved in case I need to do some oh shit buying of planes or something like that. But really buying stuff on the ground, using that time effectively to get on the road, get up to that front line, hold a position, and then reinforce that position, and then sweep through with that. So that's the real discussion here. Is it something that the devs... Do you guys think that it's something that the devs should limit? Do you think that they should make it so that each person can... For instance, I'm just going to spitball here. Maybe just buy one plane. Maybe every single person can only buy one plane unless you are an airborne deck at the beginning of the game. Maybe there's like some kind of sequence or series of events to unlocking this stuff. Like if you are a Marine, only you can bring in things from like an ocean-born spawn if they end up doing something like that. Setting stuff up like that where it's going to be good to like coordinate with your team on what you want to bring to the fight and not have a complete snowball like we have had for now over 10 years in this war game community. If your team is not quite there, if you lose the opener, you pretty much lose the game. It can really hurt. It can really hurt to be waiting so long to get into a game, and then you have a couple of new players and they lose the opener, and there's just no recovering from that. So that is what I wanted to put out there. Should we have some kind of limiter to these openers? Should we maybe negate it to specific decks can bring in specific units at a specific time? And hopefully I've done a good job of explaining that. It's really just kind of like a conversation starter, and I wanted to hear what you guys were thinking, because for all I know, it's going to be another couple of months before we can even get our hands on Broken Arrow again. So I can just keep this going as a series where we discuss this stuff. And in terms of where the game's at, or where it was at last time we were able to play, I really wasn't worried about too much. And then especially when Felix did his Q&A, he answered a lot of good questions that we had about, especially when teammates were leaving, specifics about the economy, what decks we might have access to later on. And I will suggest that you guys subscribe to their Patreon if you are interested in keeping up with the game, because they do have some stuff behind the paywall. They share some stuff behind the paywall, which I won't share unless they give me permission, by the way, Felix. If you want to, could be nice promotion for the Patreon if I show some stuff on the Patreon. Just saying, there's some cool stuff over there. But if you guys need your fix of Broken Arrow stuff, go over to the Patreon, see what they got cooking over there. It's some cool stuff. But yeah, in terms of just like what I'm worried about in general is the new players coming in and seemingly have it be quote unquote obvious to them that they should buy a bunch of planes, and then you don't quite really know how to use the planes correctly. You end up losing them, and then it puts you down about a bad path. So I'm wondering if there's something that we can do about it. This is really just kind of a question thing. I've laid out my ideas here and what I think might be wrong with the situation. So let me know what you guys think. Again, I don't know if I've got some gameplay to put in the background here. It might just be a bunch of trailers or something like that. But I know I got some gameplay sitting around somewhere. It's just a bit weird to do Broken Arrow videos when we can't actually play it. So we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Otherwise, you guys know the drill. If you guys want to support me on Patreon, you can have discussions like Lion and I did about Broken Arrow all day if you want to. So link for the Patreon's in the description. Thank you guys all who are already over there for the support. Really need it right now. So thank you so much. Other ways to support would be clicking all the buttons on the screen. Come by a stream, which is linked below. Also, join the Discord if you're interested. Follow me on Twitter for the latest news on all this stuff. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and hope you have a nice day. See you guys.